Order, will everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Okay, up next on the agenda, we have roll call.
Counselor Carson, we'll just do your voice vote, okay?
I'm here.
Perfect. All counselors present and a quorum has been declared.
Okay, thank you. The next item we have on the agenda is the agenda approval.
Mayor, staff has a recommendation that we do add an executive session at the end of the agenda. City Attorney, did you want to provide any information?
Yeah, that'll be for a discussion of receiving legal advice from me concerning considerations granting or denying liquor licenses. City manager has heard from some of you, and I think it would be an opportune time to talk about that. So if you do add that to the agenda, I will give you the statutory citation under which we want to place that.
Okay, thank you. Council Vito.
Mayor, I move that we approve the agenda and add a executive session.
Yeah, and when the time comes,
Okay.
I'll shovel you the statutory.
An executive
reference for
session
that.
at the end of the meeting to talk about liquor licensing.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Not, please start voting.
Counselor Carson,
Yes.
the motion carried unanimously.
Okay. Up next on the agenda is we have citizen comments. This is the segment of the agenda where we have any citizen who want to make any comments. We ask that you do limit your comments to 3 minutes. If you're still talking at the 3-minute mark, I will politely ask you to end your comments at that particular time. Ms. Martinez, I don't have any comment cards. Do you have any?
I don't have any either, Mayor.
Okay, so if we could, let's go to Zoom and see if we have anyone on Zoom who would like to make any comments at this time. If you can give them instructions, Ms. Martinez, how to raise their hand to be recognized.
Yeah, if you're on the Zoom app, you'll raise your hand by using that feature at the bottom of your screen. If you're on a telephone, it'll be *9. And I don't see anyone raising their hand.
Okay, all right, thank you. We'll go to the next item, and before we go there, we always like to at least recognize elected officials who are in the audience, and we want to recognize DA Kelly, who's in the audience tonight. Okay, thank you. All right, so that brings us to consent calendar A.
Mayor, I move that we approve consent calendar A.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Nope, not. Please start voting.
Counselor Carson,
Yes.
There we go. There we go.
the motion carried unanimously.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Martinez. That brings us to the next item on the agenda, under regular business, a presentation from outside agency. We have the lead and co-responder updates. You'll feel free to come up to the podium.
Good evening. As you can see, I brought my whole team. I know we have some new staff members that we've hired, but it's been a while since we've all been here. So I just wanted to reintroduce the whole team to you guys. So I'm going to let them come up and speak for themselves and say a little snippet about them. So.
I'm one of the newer members. My name is Chris Payne. I'm not originally from here, but I've been here for the past 2.5 years, almost 3 years. And I was found by Carrie over here and graciously accepted the position.
Hi, y'all. Gail Garcia Coons. I've been here the longest, I might say, me and Carrie. 2018, we started it. Yeah, I'm glad to be back. It's good to see all you guys.
I'm Betty Rosencrantz. I joined the team 4 months ago and very happy about it. I've been in the Valley for 5 years And this is a wonderful community that deserves our work.
My name is Timothy Keltner. Born and raised here in the San Luis Valley, so a native. Yeah, excited to be part of this team. Thank you.
My name is Camille Medina. I've been here for almost 2 years now.
We're just gonna reintroduce everyone.
Lisa Woodward, and I'm the deputy director, and their support staff.
So we finally have a full team. So it's nice to be fully staffed again, and they've been hitting the ground running and their cases are growing. We were able to purchase 2 vehicles, which the HCI, oh gosh. It's bleeding my brain, Clarissa. Anyway, we got a grant through Mental Health Colorado, and we were able to invest it into 2 vehicles for us to purchase. So we have 2 brand new vehicles, and the case managers are providing transportation, which has been a huge asset and help. So Health Colorado. Yeah, so that's been helpful. And I asked the DA's office, because they often are with us and join us on trainings and presentations. And so I have asked Anne and Megan to also.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us here, and thank you so much for all of your support for our office. This is not about our office, but I can give just a quick update. We're doing great, and I'm so excited about the work ahead. One of the things that we've been focusing on, and we've hired a position to help us with our diversion coordination within our office. And so the diversion program, the lead program, is sort of 2 factors, right? The district attorney's office refers cases, but also law enforcement refers them. So I've been obviously in communication with the chief and communication with Center for Restorative Programs to make sure that our collaboration is strong on that, and we're coordinating our efforts in that way. So all 3 of our agencies are very united in this effort. I can tell you that in the last, how long have I been in this position? Since September 1st, seems like 10 years. So since I've been in this position, what I've noticed about this community and what I think that the diversion program, the lead program, the co-responder program, which is essential to the Alamosa Police Department, what I've noticed is that we have a crisis of mental health here in Alamosa. One of the things that I've been really sort of advocating for in the criminal justice system is the responsiveness of CMHIP, which is our statewide mental health program for people that are in the criminal justice system. I see that, and then that's a topic for a later day, what's happening with that program and how we have to be able to interface with them. But we can do on a much more minor level, we can assist with the lower level offenses by funneling them into this amazing program and getting them the resources that they need so they don't sort of ratchet up and become our felons. So I think this program is essential. I'm totally behind it, and I've really, really enjoyed working with this team. They've been amazing. So.
Thank you. Do you guys have questions for us?
We may have some questions or comments, so I'll turn on the mic. So we'll start off with Councilor Daniel, then we'll go to Councilor Yanvio. You bet.
It's been a long Wednesday. So first of all, thank you all. Oh my gosh. The work that you do is essential to making sure that our community stays safe and that people can get the support and services they need. So just thank you, thank you, thank you. I really appreciate coming together. DA Kelly, I'm super excited about the talks about CMHIP. That is a huge issue in our state, and I'm excited about the BHA and things that are changing with that. But I'm really hopeful that we can even stop people from needing that service, right? By providing supports locally and helping them build their resilience. And so I really appreciate the work that you do. I am excited that your team is fully staffed. Like that's, like Carrie can sleep at night, I think is what's gonna happen. So that is amazing. And then really just excited to hear, kind of the continuing growing of the reports and of the services. And I really appreciate the work that you're all doing. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Daniel. Councilor Villa.
Thank you, Mayor. And I've said this every single time they've come up. I'm gonna keep saying it. A few of us up here had a vision, and we were inspired at a CML summer breakout session and we took it to Holly and Heather and they kind of ran with it and it's blossomed into this great program. So again, I just really appreciate what y'all do. I back you guys 100%. I'm glad to hear the DA's behind it as well. I'm glad that our police force has bought into this program too. So just keep rocking it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Councilor V Hill. Councilor Hensley.
Okay, so I want to echo what everyone has said. And I guess one of the things that, since it was brought up, is the idea of mental health. And that obviously we're addressing that. And obviously it's just touching on obviously what is that bigger problem, and it needs to continue. Obviously there needs a lot of work towards that, but this is, and I feel like what we do in our community is that step towards that. And we've been doing that. And to see this group, when we started, how it started with just a couple of you and how it's grown to this, and having so many people from so many different areas and departments come together to work together, and how this is actually growing in other communities. And we are that place that everybody's looking to how this works, which is also something to be very proud of. So thank you very much for what all of you do together.
Thank you, Councilor Hensley. Councilor Grego.
Thank you, Mayor. I too would like to thank all you guys for what you do. I like the diverse group that you put together. That, you know, just to see them come up, and this is going to be a good working team. And I've always said that there's got to be other ways than jail, you know, and if we could accomplish that with this group, I think it'd be great. So thank you very much.
And Mayor, before there's final comments, I do have a comment too.
Okay, sure. I'll go with Councilor Krebs, and I'll come back to you, Ms. Brooks. If that's okay, Councilor Krebs.
I wasn't here to see the beginning, but I'm very excited to see where, with a full team, where you take it and the positive results that are going to come from it. So thank you for sticking with it and making it what it is.
Okay, and Ms. Brooks, I know you want to say something?
And this is both for council and for everyone working with CRP. I think when you're so dedicated to the job and it can be a long process, and sometimes there's a quick win, but then a lot of this is just really in the trenches working and day after day. And what I want to share is we are making a difference, and it is important. And you guys have reiterated all that, but it's reinforced when Carrie and I have the opportunity to interact with. For our federal funding, we have a national representative and we do checkups, and she gets so excited when she hears Carrie talk about everything that's going on, not only of LEAD, but the other route of COSAP and all of those types of entry points. And she says, we just need to figure out how to get your guys' story on the national level type of situation, because it's a rural community. It's people coming together with not a lot of resources to try to make a difference. And they get really excited. And so I think when we're here in the trenches, we can lose sight of what we're doing really is a big deal. And so I wanted to share that because it took courage to do something different from a law enforcement perspective. And it takes a lot of grit to be there every day. Sometimes there's losses, but a lot of times the wins are hopefully making up for it. So I just want to share that. And then when we're done with LEAD, we also have the chief here to do the co-responder update as well.
Okay, I'll just wrap up the LEAD part. I wish you all could be here and see what we see, power in the numbers, and it's just so impressive. Going from seeing only a few people at one time to now seeing this huge group. I want to thank you for your collaborative efforts and your teamwork. And that's very important because all of you working together shows that we are a community that care. Thank you. Okay, Chief, I know you're.
All right, yeah, no, we'll move on to the next. So as you can see, he wore his fancy vest tonight. So
Yep, I like it.
you know, he really wanted to, I guess, display what he looks like when he does get called out with the officers. But I guess I should start off by saying thanks for having us up here tonight. This is just an update for the co-responder program. As you all are aware, through our discussions, mental health concerns have been a big topic for the last few years. We're lucky enough to have a city manager that's open to these ideas that we come up with, and to have people that are interested in molding a program that's actually working out pretty effective so far. I won't speak too long. I'll let Tim finish up, but I did want to let you all know that he's technically been called out roughly 40 times. 40, approximately 40 times. He stays in communication with probably just over 12, 15 clients. Keeps in direct communication with myself, the two captains and sergeants when need be. He's probably going to tell you guys a story that happened the other night where he got called out. We bring up our own success stories as well. This is one where I called him out during the evening time. It doesn't happen all that often, but it does happen. And I'll let him kind of finish that up. But really, to give you the honest truth, police officers like immediate impact. And with Tim and the co-responder program right now, they're getting an immediate impact. So I'm very, very happy to have the program, and I look forward to continuing to build on it. So Tim, it's all yours, buddy.
Thank you, Chief. And thanks, City Council. Thanks for having us here this evening. Well, first off, I would just want to recognize our city manager, Heather Brooks, and for the affordable housing initiative that's taking place, and that certainly has an impact on a very complex issue for our community. And also want to thank Christina Daniel for the recent Acu Detox, which I do recommend for anyone here. That's also a very effective tool for our community. And also Don Krebs, always good to see you, fellow friend of the library member. All right. So yeah, just a quick scenario. Like Chief said, it was Monday evening that I got called to the ER. Situation where an individual that came to our community was in mental health crisis. So by the time I got to the ER, he had been sedated due to the level of his crisis that was necessary from a medical standpoint. So I talked with the staff there and let them know that they could call me when he was awake and able to talk, and we could do an assessment. And so I got called out again from the ER at about 5:25. So responded to the ER and met with this individual. So it really was a range where kind of the initial thought was on an extreme one end of looks like hospitalization may be necessary. An emergency hospitalization situation might be necessary from what had happened, the initial contact and what had happened the night before in the ER. But then with talking with him and talking with other community resources, we developed a plan. These other community members included our recently hired mental health screener at the hospital, May Mercadante, talking with folks at behavioral health. I utilized the Mi Esperanza emergency living room. We had an appointment set up for later in the day to meet with a nurse practitioner at behavioral health. I incorporated our library here during that day where this individual was following me. I wasn't transporting him at this point, but just had him come over and spend some time at the library where there was just a window of time, somewhere safe and comfortable that he could spend an hour and a half or so. I gave him a bit of a tour first, and then our plan was to meet up later, at which point he would follow me over to his appointment, and then onto his home south of here, out of state. He's not a full-time resident, but I believe when someone is here in our community, they are a community member, and they're our neighbor. And just something I've observed in this position, that the strength of the success of this position and working with the folks that are in crisis that I work with, the strength is based in partnership, other community members, and partnership both internally and externally. So, and I'd say things are moving forward in a good direction. So again, thanks for having me.
I know we're getting close to wrapping it up, but I also, doesn't tug on the heart as much, but, I've heard the chief tell the story where we've had an individual calling multiple times a day. And that's another individual we've connected with Tim, and we're still working on that. And we've had some close calls of having a success, and then something might fall through, but, that's the other part of this is taking those calls out of the system, taking the calls away from an officer, and really working at what's driving those and trying to connect it with some resources. So I don't know if you want to share any more on that in a short amount of time.
Just real quick, just I guess to get on Tim's story and Heather's. I mean, they're both real similar, other than we're not done with that one. A lot of calls with the cops, a lot of calls with this individual. And eventually this is why I called Tim out. So after that, he took it from start to finish and got this individual actually to agree to do certain things that I'm pretty sure that a uniformed officer probably couldn't have. So, kudos to him. He's very, very liked in our department right now as well.
Oh, he got the chief to try the whatever stuff too. So he's very persuasive.
I did. With my stress level, I probably need a couple more cycles.
I just provided an option. So that's all I did.
Yeah.
Councilor Daniel.
Thank you, Mayor. I am so excited about the co-responder program too. Like this is like my jam, all of you up here. So I really appreciate that a lot. It has been a pleasure seeing Tim connect to all of the resources and working to see all that happen. It has also been a pleasure to do AccuDetox. And so I'm going to talk about that super fast so everyone knows. It is 5-point ear acupuncture, so not full body acupuncture. I am not an acupuncturist, but we can do groups. Carrie and Clarissa are also getting their training figured out. So anyone who wants to do it for big groups or even little groups, we can absolutely get that set up for you. It is very relaxing. It is not just for people detoxing. It's for anxiety, depression, stress, helps you sleep better at night. It's amazing. So we can totally set up your teams, however you want to do that. But Tim and the chief have both tried it. They're both still standing. I just want to say that everything is okay with them. But this program has been really exciting to see it be developed from the ground up. And I am super excited because the one thing you didn't mention is that you're hiring people. So do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I can. So as Ms. Daniels advised, we are currently, I don't know if we're accepting applications. I think we might be, but we are looking at a case manager position currently for this program. We've had several interviews. We did one today. We're continuing to do another tomorrow, and I believe Monday. But I'm sitting on those as well. Looks like we have a pretty good pool of individuals. So, and we're also looking at another co-responder.
Yeah, it took a while. This is a hard position to fill, and it took a while before we found Tim. But obviously when you find the right person, it works. And so we're not going to rush it. But it's the co-responder is definitely a very challenging position. So that is still open.
Thanks for bringing that.
Okay, Councilor Hensley.
I just will say the same thing as I said before. Again, another step in the right direction to everything that we're going towards. And so thank you very much for all you're doing. Thanks for sharing those couple of stories too. It's nice to actually put something together. And I've also done the things with the ears, and I'm here sitting to talk about it. And it is very helpful. If anything, it is truly relaxing.
All right, Tim, thank you so much for everything you're doing. You're making a huge difference. The whole team, you're making a difference. Keep it up. That's it. Okay, thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty. Okay, that brings us to the next item on the agenda. Business brought forward by the city manager, selection of art for purchase.
Okay, so there's usually 2 different art things we bring to you each year. The first one is the 15 pieces we're going to rotate in. That's not this. This one is where we look at what we have in our budget and if we want to buy a piece or two of the existing pieces that we have. So that's what this is for. We will still be rotating out 15 pieces and all of that. The People's Choice. So I'm going to go ahead and Holly, if you want to share the thing. Oh, you froze? Okay, I'll share mine. But before we get too far, we do have about $4,187. Is it working now or do you want me to share mine? Okay.
4,187.
Yes. Now, if council goes 1,000 over, something like that, you're not going to break the piggy bank, but it would be great if we could stick around that number. So as a reminder, here's the pieces we already own. So this is Gentle, Rocket Ship, Sisters, Longhorn, Old Goat, El Pastor, Sunflower, Visions of the Valley, Troville, Balance in the Fray, and Forever in My Heart. So those are the pieces we already own. The art committee's top choices. Number 1 is the Nautilus shell. Number 2 is Salvador. And number 3 is called Transitional Piece. The People's Choice is the Sweet Apple. So with that, I'm going to slowly go through your possibilities of what you can purchase. So the first one that's just listed, they're not in any order. Salvador, James Cable from Buena Vista. The Muse of Transformation by Jody Bliss. Kala by Barbara Bear. Transitional Piece by Kevin Schaefer. Sometimes Life Goes in a Different Direction by Sandy Friedman. Magnify by Kirk Cease. Nautilus Shell by Kasha. Discussion Group by Damian Radis. Totem by Sue Quinlan. Mid-Century Mini Cacti by Annette Coleman. No relation to the mayor. Welcome by Jim Johnson. Sweet Apple by Kyle Cuniff. And that's all the pieces. So I can go back to anyone you may want to look at, or it's open for council for discussion.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
So Heather, each year, so we've had money, where does our budget line item come from? So if we have 4,000 to purchase art, how will that potentially grow next year?
So normally what we do is we go after the marketing grant, which helps offset the cost of the brochures and some of those types of things, but we obviously budget in case we don't get something like that. We also look for sponsorships. We were somewhat successful the first year. We haven't had any in previous years or years since then. And then finally, when art is purchased, we get 20%. So when Connie and Damian Martin have purchased some of the pieces, as well as the Humane Society, we received 20% of those purchases. So normally we kind of have a budget where it could accumulate if we don't spend it all. But you might remember, based on some of the things we needed from a salary perspective, the 2023 budget, I kind of took out that wiggle room. This 4,000 is what we're carrying over from 2022.
So, because I was just thinking, so all of the pieces that are listed, that were the choices and things like that were great. We have a lot of art already bought, and I thought if this could potentially grow, I was thinking maybe we could think about not buying art this year, even though these pieces are amazing, but not buying it this year and seeing if that would continue to grow to kind of build up so we can buy one or two bigger pieces in the future versus a smaller piece. Because the last time we bought something small, like pieces fell off of it, like there was just, it wasn't as long of a term of a thing as we had hoped. So I just wanted us to think about that.
Definitely something for council to discuss.
Thank you, Council Daniel. Council Hensley.
So I think it's a good idea. And obviously I would want to make sure the quality, I do like the apple. I think the apple really stands out and it is the people's choice. So just throwing it out for discussion. I didn't even realize till it came up that it's also an artist that's from Alamosa. So I think that adds to it. But I will say maybe it's where it is, but it really is something that stands out when we drive. And so but again, I would want to make sure from a quality standpoint, I think we've had just that one piece that really kind of crumbled. But yeah. So if this is a sturdy one and I haven't examined it to that extent, because you're right, I would only want to buy things that, we don't expect it to last a lifetime, but that it is going to last. So anyway, I'm just throwing it out as part of the discussion.
The only clarification, Kyle and Kasha no longer live in town. The sweet apple is Kyle.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just said what it said. Okay.
Did it say Alamosa
Yeah.
on it? I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. Yeah, they're not from Alamosa
I just
any
read what
longer.
it said.
Yeah,
sorry.
no, I'm sorry. And that was my bad.
Any other comments from anyone? Councilor Griego?
I got a couple. I kind of agree with Chris, but if we want to continue building our statues up there, if we wanted to stay within that budget, that Salvador and Kaya would stay within that budget. And I also do like the apple. If we were going to buy just one, even if we had to add a little bit of money to it. But the Salvador was what, 1,400, and I didn't write down what Kaya was. 2,800. That would keep us within that $4,187. Or if we would want to just, keep it and build it up for next year. So those are my comments. Jan.
Thank you, Councilor Griego. Okay, any other comments? Councilor Vihil?
I don't know, like the last few years, I've been really set on a couple, and this year I'm not really like, oh my gosh, but I do like the apple. I do like what Christina said too about maybe not going this year and building that up a little bit. But maybe we can do both of what Charlie and Christina want to do, is we can buy one or two and not zero out that 4,000 whatever and have a little bit left over with what we would put in next year. We can even build it up that way too a little bit. So I'm wherever. You guys can convince me tonight. I'm good.
Okay. Thank you, Councilor Vihil. Councilor Cribs?
I have to be part of this animated discussion that we're having up here. I agree. Looking over at our past art pieces, it looks like we tend to lean toward more of the metalworks. My suggestion would be for the Salvador piece, because it would add nicely to that collection. And it would keep us within budget and give us some wiggle room for next year to start growing from.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Cribs, Councilor Carson? Councilor Carson? Any comments? I can't see you, so I don't know if your hands are raised.
I thought
or
it was
not.
muted.
Okay,
Yeah,
no.
I just had an issue on muting it. I agree with Councilor Krebs. We can spend the 1,440 and still have some money in that pot and build it up like Councilor Daniel said. I think that's a good route. And I'm just out of curiosity, will the artist warranty the work at all, even for a year or something? barring, something malice, like somebody doing graffiti or something. But I mean, if it just falls apart, will they fix it? You might ask them that. But
There is a warranty clause in our standard contract that we use to purchase these. It's generally good materials and workmanship. We had one that we thought was metal, as I recall, and turned out being styrofoam, and the artist disappeared. So the warranty is only as good as the person standing behind it.
Thank you.
Okay, so my comments, I'm just gonna be real honest, I would really blow the budget. Because I would go with the Apple and Salvador, and that would spend more than what we actually have, so we would have to start from scratch. But I do like the Apple, and I think the Apple would be a good quality piece if we spent our 4,000, and it would be a piece that I think would be able to deal with the weather that we have. Councilor Grego?
I had a question. How large is that apple? Is it a pretty? Because I like when they really stick up and when people go by, you can see these.
Oh,
These sculptures.
I hate to do potentially the dimensions. It's in front of Big John's on the corner there. And so when it's on the pedestal, it's as tall as me or taller type of thing. It does. It stands out, and and you can't necessarily tell from this picture because it's straight on, but it's sheets of metal. So if you look at it from different angles, it doesn't necessarily even look like an apple versus if you look at it straight on.
So where would we get, what is it, the other 300 or something?
The general fund balance. Yeah.
Because what is it, about
400,
200 something?
4,400 for the.
Yes, it's 4,400. So it's right there. You're right
It's
there.
within.
Yeah.
That would put us almost at that 2,000 over.
I think Counselor Grego was talking about if we do just the sweet apple, that's because we've got a budget of 4,187 or something like that. So the sweet apple is 4,400. So it's pretty
Well,
close.
Then I'm with Ty. Let's splurge and buy both of them. No, I'm just kidding. No, but that sweet apple is a very good piece. It's very nice. So I'm good with whatever you guys pick. I'll be honest with you.
Thank you, Councilor Carson. Councilor Grego?
I'll go ahead and try a motion here, and then if you guys defeat it, fine. If no, I'll go ahead and make a motion that we go ahead and buy the sweet apple for 4,400 and make the difference out of the general fund.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, not start voting.
I vote yes.
Missing one. Somebody might have to push a little bit harder.
We're not missing one. We have 5 yes and 1 no.
Oh,
Can you go to the
okay,
next screen?
Sorry. Okay. There you go.
Okay, so we have the motion and the motion carried 6-1. I'm not sure who voted no. Oh, and Counselor Behill voted no.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. We're good. Thank you, council. Thank you, staff. Great. I like this time of the year. It's so fun. All right. Okay. Up next, we have committee reports. Do we have any committee reports?
I think we have
Oh,
the
I'm sorry.
ordinance.
There you go. My bad. Human Resources, first reading of ordinance number 1-2023, an ordinance amending the established pay plan for the city officers and employees.
So Mayor, hopefully, other than the second reading of this is the last time I bring a change to our pay plan. In addition, there's one big change, and then there's actually 3 housekeeping items. So I'm going to start with the housekeeping items. And then I will say HR has taken a really fine-tooth comb to try to make sure that there is no more housekeeping needed. But this is just when we took the old pay plan and transitioned everything over, there were just a few things that fell through. So the first housekeeping item is our recreation specialist, which is a part-time year-round position. previously it was in the pay plan, and then for some reason it got kicked out with some of our seasonal, not regular type of employees. And so we just need to put that back in the pay plan, similar to where it was before. It doesn't affect their pay. It would affect their pay dramatically if we don't put them back in the pay plan. And then the other thing we found is in our, wastewater utility area, we had, some of our equipment and utilities operators, crew leaders, they were aligned because they have similar requirements, and somehow they got separated in the new pay plan. Those are currently vacant, so it's not impacting anyone existing type of situation. So, those are the housekeeping items, I believe, just double checking there. And then the big one is the one we had a work session on, which is the creation of what we're going to call a construction project manager. When we had the work session, I was looking at grade J, but after looking at CML data, we really do think it probably needs to be the one higher, which is a K, which places the starting pay at 58,000. So I think that's going to make it where we're more likely to attract someone with the background and the skill set that we need. But we really did take a look at it because we were leaning towards J. I put in there some of the information that I had shared during the work sessions. I think it's important for the public to know why would we be adding this FTE, and essentially when we look at some of the trends that are going on, we've grown significantly in our grants. That doesn't necessarily mean we're always going to be at this level, but we may be at this level for the next couple of years and then go back down maybe to a simple 1 million, who knows, type of situation. But the bigger trend that I see is our trend in our CIP. And if you look in 2016, when we're at about 2.4 million, and 2023, we're at 10.2 million. And so I don't see that changing. I don't see that going back down. And so that is a heavy, heavy project workload. And so when we look at the projects that could be specific to just the construction manager, and this is without us leveraging some of the projects we've talked about. So that pedestrian bridge that we've received, and they talked about leveraging that for some of the projects in the master trail plan. That doesn't include this. So you take a look at all the projects we have listed, and we're shy of almost $16.5 million. And that's a combination of CIP and grant projects. We were at a point when we're writing grants that we either needed to stop because we weren't going to be able to implement them, or we were going to have to write in 20 to 40,000, depending on the grant, for project management. And that makes you a little less competitive type of situation. So I appreciate council being willing to take a look at this and realize that this is a big deal, and it's an immediate impact to the community. It's not a behind the scenes, just moving paperwork type of situation. This is going to get projects done and very tangible for the public. With that, we did take a look at the 10-year plan. 80% of it will come out of the enterprise fund, which it can handle. 10% of it, or 20% of it, will come out of the general fund, which is about 15,000. It's going to make it tight when we're looking 10 years out, but again, we do conservative budgeting. So I think from the work session, to summarize that, we'll see how the next 8 years go. Hopefully revenue comes in better. Maybe inflation's not as bad. We can keep costs contained, and we're going to be okay. And if not, we'll make changes as we get closer to that point in time. And with that, I'll turn it over to council.
Okay. Councilor Griego.
I had one comment. As we continue to move forward and grow, things are getting more and more expensive. So these grants, if we have that little bit of matching money to get the other part, it's very important. So I think that this is a pretty well-spent money to get a person in there to look at this stuff, that as we can continue getting more and more money in, it'll help us. And we can get somebody with Andy's luck, so we can get these grants in here. that'd be a great deal, so.
Thank you. No other questions or comments? To accept.
I have a question.
Yeah, Council, go ahead, Council Carson.
Hold on. I'm looking at this document. I just have kind of a dumb question. I saw what the starting salary is and what the total cost is, but can you just enlighten me just a little bit as what is included in the overhead?
What's included in the what? I didn't catch the last part.
The overhead.
Oh,
There's
the
a
overhead.
30% overhead.
Okay.
Yeah, just kind of a, blanket idea.
So it's when we have to pay for different types of insurances, it's
Okay.
their retirement, it's the health
That's what I figured.
insurance.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Okay.
yep.
I got you. I kind of thought it was just dumb because I knew what it was, but I just wanted for clarification. Thank you.
Yep, some of it is the benefits they get, but then some of it's the types of insurance we have to carry as well.
I got you. For the general liability for that individual and their project management, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, Council Daniel.
I move that we approve ordinance number 1/2023, amending the established pay plan, and we set it for a public hearing on February 1st, 2023. We approve it on first reading and set it for a public hearing on February 1st, 2023 at 7 PM or soon thereafter.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, please start voting.
I vote yes.
Thank you. The motion carried unanimously.
Okay, thank you. Now that brings us down to committee reports. Do we have any committee reports? Counselor Hensley?
The marketing board. And so the main thing out of that is the RV parking is still planning to happen. The main thing at this point that really is or sort of delaying things is we're waiting for the I can't think of the word. The thing that you need to get from CDOT for the, what's it called? Okay, yeah, so the permit. So I don't know why I couldn't think of the word. But anyway, so we're just really waiting for that permit to move forward. So our hope is we're going to get it really soon. The goal, obviously, a lot depends now. I mean, when we get it is how frozen things will be to dig. And so, but they're hopeful that actually it's not too bad right now, so that we could get started, but it really is sort of pending on that, but we're all set to go. So that's sort of, I guess, the big news. And we're still very hopeful to have it done, May, June. I don't want to put dates out there, but everybody's ready to go. So I guess that would be the big news there.
Thank you, Councilor Hensley. Okay, I don't see any other mics on, so Councilor Carson?
So I'll make it brief, but we had not an emergency meeting, but sort of meeting emergency for the COG on creating a letter of support and a plan of action to help move forward with the PUC and transmission line conversations. And I also did just forward that information after that and to Heather so that we can look at it as a city as well, submitting a letter of support to that committee. But things are moving forward with the conversations about a redundant transmission line for electricity into the valley, and those are great conversations. So all we can do is keep positive and forward momentum. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Carson. Okay, up next.
Yeah, I forgot one thing. Sorry, we did have Main Street also this last week. And in all honesty, everything's going really well. Lots of different reports that we hear all of that information from different avenues. So I'm not going to necessarily report on that, but I will report that Rachel has told us we actually are going to have to work harder, that I forget what it is we have to do, but it's not going to be as touchy feely. We actually have to do some work this next year. And so I will be reporting on that here soon.
Thank you, Councilor Hensley. Okay, that brings us now to staff announcements.
Okay. So I shared this with Holly, but we need this to reflect in the minutes from an official perspective. So we do have Leanne Lunsberry, who will be starting as our finance director February 13th. And we do want our minutes to reflect that effective that day of her first day, she is our new CFO and she has the full authorization to sign on all of our banking needs. And so for us, it's important to have these in the minutes. And if we do it now, then that means her first day, we can start having her get all of those signature cards filled out and those types of things. And so we need that to be in our minutes.
Yeah, and if the minutes could also reflect that, I don't think that our ordinances use chief financial officer, it uses finance director. So she's both those roles really.
Okay. Then the other item, and don't get too grumpy with me. We do need to have a special meeting next week. It will be a quick one. It's non-controversial and it's for one item, but we just found out today that we were accepted to submit an official application for $4.7 million to help with the infrastructure grant for CRHDC's housing project. So we can help speed that up. And so that's for the waters, the lift station, sewer, roads, all of those types of things. So we just found out today, and we have to have a resolution from council authorizing us to submit by the 31st. So it's for 4.7. Mayor, I know you will not be here, as well as Councilor Daniel or Councilor Grego. Do we have the other 4 counselors who can be here next week? Well, and that's going to be my next question. Do you want to be at 6, 6:30, 7? What time do you want to be at?
And Heather, if it's short, I can step out. Oh, I will be in La Junta, so I would need to zoom in, but I can step out and.
It will be
then come
one
back.
resolution authorizing us. And then what Rachel and I talked about is, let's make the resolution to authorize us to apply for any housing grants for these specific projects, because what we're learning is there's tons of money being thrown at housing, but these deadlines and turnarounds are really kind of catching everybody by surprise. So we can get one resolution done that will authorize us to do future applications as well. But that would be it from the agenda. I'm seeing 7 o'clock from Councilor Vigil.
I was gonna say as early as possible, but if they want to do it at 7, that's fine.
Some of that was mumbled. I'm sorry, Councilor Carson.
I was gonna say I'd like to do it at 6 o'clock or as early as possible, but if they want to do it later, that's fine. I mean, you know,
Okay.
we can put it to vote, I guess, or.
I think it would take 5 minutes. Okay, so well, let's not do. Okay, do you want 6 then? Counselor Hensley? You can? Okay. Okay. That's fine.
So 6?
I don't need you here. Do we need someone here to conduct the meeting, I think?
I think your policy says I think we'd have to look it up. My recollection is your policy says if a majority is present, it has to be chaired by somebody present. But if a majority is not present.
And we could just list it as a Zoom meeting. We used
Yeah,
to
I think
do
you
Zoom
could.
during COVID.
Right, but we changed the policy after that, so.
But couldn't we, like.
But if
create
the
an
majority is there
exception
by
for this
Zoom, it
meeting?
doesn't even have to be chaired in person. It can be chaired on Zoom.
If it'll be quick, I'd rather do it at 6. I mean, if it's cool with everybody else.
Okay, so we're gonna have a majority at 6. So 6 o'clock on Wednesday. We'll get that set up. And again, it is one item. It's not controversial. It's just open the meeting, vote, and we can close the meeting type situation. The other thing then, so I'm gonna move on to the next thing.
Ms. Brooks, before you go on,
Yes.
just in case, because I will be out of town traveling back, but just for the record, so that I won't be counted as missing that meeting, I would have to abstain anyway
Yes.
because I'm a part of it. So that's why I won't be on Zoom.
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, you will.
Okay, so moving on to the next thing, as I was writing a grant with a team and finishing that up last week for $2.4 million for a different housing project. There was a light bulb that came on for me, and maybe everybody else's light bulbs were already on and mine was late to get turned on. I don't know. But I feel like I haven't been using the right language because I haven't fully been recognizing this. But this housing situation, and that's what we've been calling it, is, in my opinion, actually a housing crisis. Writing this grant and seeing all of these statistics in one place just made me realize that everything we're doing is important, but we need to make sure we know why we're doing it. Because if we get asked from the public or by staff working on this or, things like that, I think it's critical. And so I just want to read some of these statistics that when they are just all together, how sobering the situation is for our community. And I think the part that changed for me is when we did the housing plan, it says we're short 500 units, right? Well, analytically, that's like, okay, that's our benchmark. That's what we need to be working towards. But that 500 is 500 housing units in our community right now are vulnerable. Those are people. Those are actually people that are not stable in housing because we're short that many. The other thing these things mean is our residents who are currently housed are more at risk than they probably ever have been from becoming homeless. If they have to leave their housing situation, if they had a roommate and it's not working out, or they get a divorce or they get evicted, they are much more likely to have to be homeless than they have had to be probably in the past. And this is a big deal for our community. And when we talk about crime and we talk about mental health and we talk about substance use, all of these things are so interrelated. And so this is sobering, but I promise I end on a good note. Half the renters and 1/3 of our homeowners pay more than 30% of their income on housing. This is a bullet we've used in every grant. Our median household income is $38,000 compared to the state median household income of $82,611. So when we talk about why we have struggles from a community valley perspective, the opioid epidemic and other substances have hit the valley extremely hard. 4 out of the 6 valley counties are above Colorado's 14.6 average annual age-adjusted rates of drug overdose deaths per 100 residents. So it's 14.6 average. Rio Grande is 24.2, Alamosa is 21.8, Castilla is 29.5, and Conejos is 23.4. From January 1st, 2022 through January 1st of 2023, so for 1 year, La Puente provided services to over 340 households or 416 individual participants. The Alamosa County Jail has shared with us that as of December 31st, 9 out of the 64 inmates, 14%, self-identify as homeless. Colorado Department of Corrections has shared that they currently have 1 parolee listed as transient, 4 as temporary couch surfing, and 2 as staying in the homeless shelter. Of those individuals enrolled in LEAD, our own program, 61% or 129 of them are homeless. Of those who are referred to LEAD, because not all of them become engaged, 39% are homeless or 191 are homeless. Our community lacks 515 housing units, which is 12% of our housing stock. Our community has also experienced a 12% population increase between 2010 and 2020. So we've grown 12%, but we've only grown housing units at a rate of 1.2%. The wait list to get into affordable housing exceeds 2 years. 2 years for affordable housing, people are staying on the wait list. We've managed, and I say we, I had nothing to do with it, our housing partners managed to secure more housing vouchers for our area. But even with the vouchers, people cannot get into housing. There's literally nowhere for them to get into, even though they have money, type of situation. LEAD has shared with us, as well as some of our other partners, that even when they can pay for housing or even put someone in a hotel, they can't get them in anywhere type of situation. So the issue is, we've got workforce issues. We're hearing from the employers they can't attract, but we also have a vulnerable population that is extremely vulnerable right now. And even if someone wanted to start picking their life together and they get a job and they don't want to be homeless any longer, there's nowhere, literally nowhere for them to go. And so the grant we were writing for last week is the affordable housing on Airport Road that prioritizes those who are homeless and those who might have interaction with the justice system as a background, because anything that's on their records means they're probably not going to qualify for housing. Now, this is an anecdotal little story, which isn't statistical, but Rachel was looking for a rental for her sister. And so even though she was going to have her name on it, go through the credit check, no background, solid work history, everything what you would want, she can't even find housing. So when I say how dire it is, it's extreme. And yes, Iron Horse was built, but our housing plan was created already folding in those units that were going to come with Iron Horse type of situation. And so I say it because I think after last week, I've lost a little bit of my patience on some of these social issues, because we're being distracted by a lot of rhetoric out there instead of really needing to focus on these core issues. And I promised I was going to end on a good note. And the good note is, I think you guys have been doing a fantastic job. You guys have been pushing the city to get into areas we haven't historically been involved in, but it's critical as we're looking at these kinds of statistics. So you guys have created the Homeless Coalition. We've created our lovely St. Benedict campsite. You guys have taken a look at providing help for homeless prevention, the work readiness program. You guys have funded bus tickets for those individuals that don't need to be in our community. We are in serious discussions of moving the soup kitchen, which will have a positive impact on the neighborhood on State Avenue. We have started the LEAD program, the co-responder programs. You added the third CSO. We're at the table from an addiction perspective, especially on the opioid committee, and looking at recovery housing. The county's looking at the inpatient treatment center, and we're looking at prevention methods from those types of things, as well as peer support. And then I can't say enough on how much we have transitioned. The housing plan was only adopted in May of 2021. But thankfully, because of our amazing partners and staff having a learning curve like this and being engaged as much as they can, we're trying to partner with CRHDC for over 400 units, SLV Housing Coalition on the Boyd School, the Century Mobile Home Park, the housing on Airport Road. We're working with SLV Health on a potential project for workforce housing. And then obviously we assisted with the Iron Horse type of situation. So that's the good news. We're not sitting here twiddling our thumbs or doing things like that. We also don't have all the answers, and we're figuring this out as we go. And we're trying to learn from other communities and experts. But I felt like I needed to share that, because it is critical that we continue on some of these paths that we've started on to try to move the needle. But these are people who live in our community who are struggling, and we struggled before with that demographics. The way we have it works great for grants, not so great when you think these are people living in these conditions. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you, Ms. Brooks. I don't see any lights or anything, but I'm quite sure council and myself, thank you for giving that update. And I think the community needs to hear about all the great things that we're doing as a team, the city staff, you, and council as a whole. So thank you for covering that with us. And if I can just add one little comment to that, council members, people, yes.
I did have a comment. I'm sorry, I had my hand raised.
Okay, I'll get you. Let me finish up real quick and I'll come right back to you, okay? Sorry about that. I didn't see your hand earlier. But people are taking notice of the things that we're doing here in the city of Alamosa from not just around the state, but also around the country. So keep up the good work that everyone's doing. Okay, Counselor Carson, go ahead. I apologize.
Can you guys hear me? I took my headphones out and I don't know.
Yeah,
if-
now we can hear you better, a lot better.
So I was gonna make a comment earlier and I try to bite my tongue in these situations sometimes because I don't make it a habit of letting social media bother me too much. And I try to stay out of, out of those posts and those comment sections. But just so happens, Heather brought it up and today for whatever reason, I jumped in at lunch and looked at some of that stuff. And I just want to say, first of all, kudos to Heather, because you guys have, if you don't read it and you haven't looked at it, which I'm sure, we all have at one point or another, she's fielding some hard questions and some really kind of off the wall and crazy comments at times. And, I hate to reiterate this, but I just want people out there that are commenting and coming at the city sideways like that, to think about the fact that the reason that we did that, the reason that we created the camp in the first place, as one of the components, was to give the people that are housing challenged a safe place to go, or at least one area to go, so that we were trying to avoid the conflicts between, the people with addresses and the people that were, camping out in places they shouldn't have been. And so I just want people to understand that it wasn't just a fly-by-night idea, and that simple fact puts us, a decade ahead of a lot of the cities across the country, to be honest with you. And so I just really wanted to thank Heather for, some of the stuff she's doing. It's got to be maddening at times to see some of those conversations that are happening. And again, if you guys haven't looked at them, kind of do yourself a favor and don't, because they're pretty ruthless at times. But people really tend to spit some rhetoric that they have no idea. A lot of it's word on the street. I saw one comment where some lady told Heather that they had banned camps across the country or across the state. And this is all kind of word on the street stuff that people tell each other, and they don't take time to educate themselves at times. So I'm really pushing people out there in the community to educate yourselves and kind of try to lay off a little bit on that vicious rhetoric online. I know it's hard, and I know people tend to get crazy on there, but thank you, Heather, because that's a pretty rough job in itself. And I know it's hard to swallow at times. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Carson. We appreciate that. Okay. All right. So now we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, Local Liquor Licensing Authority Action Consent Calendar B. Consent calendar. Yes, we are, right? Yeah.
No,
No.
at
that's
the
different.
end, it's not related to this
Yeah,
item.
this is different. Go ahead, Counselor.
Mayor, I move that we approve consent calendar B.
Okay, have a motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, have a motion and a second.
Mayor, I wanted to make a comment.
Discussion, go ahead. Counselor Griego.
I know that I probably have been here, lived too long, Counselor, but even though we practice of going ahead and making a motion to go ahead and allow some of these liquor licenses without going through the process of pro and cons, it's not written anywhere where we have to do that. So when I made my motion to go ahead and allow this to pass, and how do I say this, and not allow the pros and cons till you do them later on, that's what I was insinuating. And then you came back and says, well, you've been here too long, because we have, we made, I guess, a motion or something out there that says that we're allowing this to happen. No, it's a common practice that we tend to go towards, but it's not written anywhere in a motion, in any kind of ordinance or anything that says we have to do it that way. Because there's still a license out there that maybe some of us want pros and cons, and we don't make that motion to prove it that night. So the way I was saying, and I thought I was right, and I scratched my head when I went home, because I says, maybe I'm wrong, but I tend to research it, and I think I was right. So I just thought I'd bring that up to you, Counselor.
Okay, thank you, Counselor Griego. Appreciate that. So we have a motion, a second, no further discussion. Please start voting.
Yes.
Okay.
The motion carried unanimously.
Okay, and then we have a council comment. Any council comments? Councilor Griego. Then Councilor Vio next.
I guess I want to echo some of Carson's comments about it, Heather, we got a group of people out there that have gone through tough times and have tried to help themselves. And once you create a record or something, I don't care how hard you try to succeed, you're not gonna get housing, you're not gonna get this, you're not gonna get that. And there should be something out there where eventually they moved into that and then do even better and move even further, But to do something like that, we need to address that because we're just spinning our wheels there because these people try to better themselves and then they get slapped in the face and they're back at St. Benedict's, And this is a path that I think for the longest time, like I said, I've been here maybe too long, like Councilor says, but I see that I'm glad that we're moving that direction, to address these people, to help these people out, because if we want to help the homeless, this is one route that we should really push for. So thank you, Heather, for having that thought and that concept to move forward.
Thank you, Councilor Griego. Councilor Vio.
Thank you, Mayor. Mine's real quick. Just wanted to acknowledge up in consent calendar A, Ralph Symbleme. He's been on boards after boards after boards for years, and he stepped up again to be an alternate on the planning commission. So I just wanted to publicly acknowledge him for, we always talk about the volunteers who help our city go to, and he's one of them. So thank you to Ralph.
Okay. All right, Councilor Carson.
Down the same road I was earlier, I just wanted to give some positive feedback on that. I do see the negative that Heather's fielding and guys, like I said, she's fielding a lot there. But I do also get a ton of good comments. Actually, today I had two constituents, two different parts of my ward that told me that they did appreciate what the city was doing. They did appreciate the campsite and what we were doing for people to give them a safe place to go. These people attested to the fact that since the campsite was opened, that they feel the traffic, the foot traffic in their neighborhood alone, which a couple of them have daycares at, has decreased by at least 100%, even more. And they said that it just is a different feeling, that the neighborhood doesn't feel as congested. And people also noticed that on State Street, the difference in, I know that we can all remember, 2 or 3 cars at times parked around the block there by La Puente where people were fixing them and working on them in the street. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't give people the ability to do that, but at least now they have a safe place to go and they're not haggling with people, in their neighborhood about being in other people's space. And so, I did get a lot of positive feedback lately, and that was good because we do catch a lot of negative stuff, but people are also very happy with what we've done in our neighborhoods, especially the people that were directly affected by the congestion of the foot traffic in some of these neighborhoods. So thank you, guys.
Thank you, Councilor Carson. Thank you, Councilor Daniel.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
We got to see a lot today from the lead and the co-responder program and hearing these things, our housing work. I also was able to be in a meeting today where we talked about the eviction prevention program and the way the city is supporting that. And it is what we have been able to do with the resources we have because of the type of community we live in. We are making humongous strides. And I think sometimes, and Heather, you said it earlier, and I really believe this, we are so much in the weeds and so much doing the day-to-day. We forget that this is hard. We forget that there are communities that can't do what we do. We forget that there are people who refuse to come to the table, and that doesn't happen here. And I think we need to be able to celebrate that and to celebrate what we do. And then all of the other things that we get to celebrate that aren't about these really, as Heather says, gnarly issues, right? We have the Rio Frio coming up, and I know the mayor's gonna cheerlead us all on that. So I'm not gonna take his cheerleading time. But I think that we have wonderful schools and we have amazing organizations and we have people who do all kinds of great work in our community, a fantastic hospital, great health. Like there's a ton of things that also go well here. And again, because we're working so hard to figure out the hard stuff, we sometimes forget to celebrate the good stuff. And I think that there's just so much we are to be thankful for and to be proud of and to thank our teams for, because they do amazing, amazing work.
Thank you, Counselor Daniel. Thank you. Okay, I'll wrap this segment up. Speaking of celebrating the good stuff, this past weekend, I had the fortunate opportunity to be rescued 4 times by Fire Chief Stone and his crew out there. They did a wonderful job on the ice rescue safety training drill. I don't know if they all knew this. Chief knew it because he saw me panicking out there in the water, but I really can't swim. And when he told me that the water was deeper than 5 feet, which I'm only about 5 feet, I started to panic. So my feet were floating and I really thought they were gonna have a real rescue drill with me falling up under that ice. But thank you, Chief, and thank you and your entire team. I feel real safe and confident knowing that you all have all the tools and resources you need to be effective if for some reason an accident like that happened in a community. Thank you so much. And then finally, I am gonna cheerlead right here. I need everybody on this team right here to help us out in the Rio Frio activities that are coming up. Ms. Brooke has made it kind of easy to where all you have to do is show up. She's gonna have a spreadsheet of all the activities. If you show up, you don't have to participate like some of us are gonna participate in the polar plunge and things like that, but just showing up means a lot for the whole team. So I'm really calling on each and every one of you all to help out so that we could beat City Manager Brooke and her team in participation numbers. Okay. All right, Ms. Brooks, I want to give you the courtesy of following up if you want to say something just in case.
Oh, I think our past speaks for what we expect this outcome to be.
Okay, then. Well, with that being said, I think we probably need a motion to go into executive session. I see our city attorney.
Yes, and if I could get a so moved, what we're looking for is a motion to go into executive session pursuant to CRS section sign 24-6-402 sub 4B to receive legal advice from the city attorney regarding considerations in granting or denying liquor licenses.
So moved.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, please start voting.
Counselor Carson,
I vote no. No, I'm just kidding. I vote yes.
the motion carried unanimously.
Okay. Do we need to say anything about the time or anything right now, or we'll worry about it when we go? Okay, thank you.
Guys, I have to drop off and jump on another link.
Thank you, Councilor
Hey,
Carson.
do I have to, Eric, or?
Holly's nodding yes. Yeah, because it's a different, so we don't want people able to log in on this same link to the executive session. So it's a different link. It's a different
No.
Zoom.
Okay, I got you. Did you guys kick everybody out of the room?
Yeah, we're gonna give everybody a 3 to 5 minute break for restroom break real quick if you want to, and then we'll meet in there, okay? All right.
Okay. Oh, you guys are going to